Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Claire. I'm a contract librarian on assignment here with NOAA Central Library, and I'll be your host this afternoon. This seminar series is offered through the NOAA Central Library Seminar Program, which provides an educational forum for the presentation of ideas, research updates, and news in support of NOAA's mission. Before we start, I have a few technical tips for attendees. Just so you are aware, you are muted and you are not able to unmute. However, if you have a question, you can type it into the question panel and we'll get to those during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you have any audio or visual issues, if you can't hear the speaker or see the slides, please try logging off and logging back on, and that solves most issues in GoToWebinar. As a reminder, this is being recorded. If you'd like to revisit the seminar or view previous seminars, you can find them on our YouTube channel. Now I'm going to turn it over to Peg, who's going to introduce the speakers.
Thank you so much, Claire. Yes, this is Peg Brady from NOAA Fisheries, and we're continuing our NOAA EBFM seminar series, which began in 2017 by our team. Our main objectives have been to showcase the excellent projects that are being done around the country with respect to NOAA and our partners, and we're hearing from our partners today, and to increase awareness about ecosystem-based management and highlight these initiatives. NOAA Library, as you just heard from Claire, has been our longtime co-host to this series, and we really have enjoyed that partnership. The seminars are held on the second, these particular seminars are held the second Wednesday of each month between 3 and 4 Eastern Time. Each presentation is publicly accessible, recorded, and archived. And as Claire mentioned, they have a YouTube channel with all the past presentations. And if you have some colleagues that can't make today's presentation, we really encourage you to share the link with them so they can learn a bit more about today's presentation. Following today's presentation, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions. And if there are any lengthy questions, we recommend that they take it offline. But Claire will be facilitating the questions to our 3 panelists. This particular year, we wanted to highlight and get an update and an overview from our regional ocean partnerships, which were established some years ago. And we've heard from 2, the Northeast as well as the West Coast Alliance. And today we're happy to hear from the Mid-Atlantic Regional Council on Ocean. And we have 3 speakers there. We'll be providing an update on the regional ocean planning in the Mid-Atlantic region with a focus on their data portal. Our speakers include Mike Snyder initially, who will open the program. He is the Great Lakes and Ocean Program Manager for New York State Department of State, and also is the Steering Committee Chair for the Mid-Atlantic Committee on Oceans. Then Avalon Bristow will, who is the Program Director for MACO, and that's the acronym for the Mid-Atlantic Regional Council, will provide us with an overview from her perspective as the Program Director. And then finally, Karl Vilacoba will tell us quite a bit more about their data portal and the work that they're doing with respect to communications and the data portal. So again, thank you all for joining us again today. And thank you to our speakers for taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us. And I will give an update on at the end about our next seminar, which will be the second Wednesday of November. So I'll turn it over to Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Great, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And on behalf of the MACO Management Board, I'd like to express our appreciation for NOAA's continued support for regional ocean partnerships and ocean planning, and for inviting us to be on today's webinar. We're particularly excited to be here today to get you up to speed on some of the ongoing work that's helping to bring new ideas and new partnerships to bear as we seek to address some of the Mid-Atlantic region's most pressing ocean challenges. I'm joined today by 2 people who are critical to our work and who play essential roles in MACO's successes in the Mid-Atlantic. Avalon Bristow, the Program Director for MACO, and Karl Vilacoba, Mid-Atlantic Portal Project Manager. They'll be your guides today in hearing a little about where MACO came from, what its areas of emphasis are, and where we hope to head in the future. So with that, Avalon, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Mike. And as mentioned, I'm Avalon Bristow, Program Director at MACO. And today we just wanted to talk to you all about how MACO approaches regional ocean planning in the Mid-Atlantic. So with that, get to the next slide here. So we wanted to start today's presentation with a brief history of MACO. MACO was established in 2009 by the governors of New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. And since this time, it has played a unique role in the Mid-Atlantic region as the only multi-state regional partnership in the region focused holistically on ocean issues. The governors identified 4 shared regional priorities that form the foundation of MARCO's work. 1, coordinating around the protection of marine habitats, including sensitive and unique offshore ecosystems like deepwater corals and canyons. 2, collaborating to ensure the sustainable development of renewable offshore energy. 3, understanding and preparing coastal communities for the impacts of climate change. And 4, working to improve the region's coastal and ocean water quality. So MARCO approaches planning around these priorities in a couple of different ways. First off, MARCO is a state-led regional ocean partnership, so these priorities are advanced at the individual state level and also regionally through MARCO's collaborative platform. MARCO is directed by a management board that comprises coastal zone managers from the 5 Mid-Atlantic coastal states. You just heard from Mike Snyder, who is a MARCO management board member from New York State. We also have members from New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. Our management board is currently chaired by the state of Delaware. Previous collaborations of the Mid-Atlantic states have laid a strong foundation for regional ocean planning. From 2013 to 2018, MARCO supported the Mid-Atlantic Regional Planning Body, which undertook a regional ocean planning initiative for the region. The RPB included state and federal representatives, tribal entities, and the Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council. And ultimately, the RPB created a Mid-Atlantic Regional Ocean Action Plan that was certified by the White House in December of 2016. In 2018, Executive Order 13840, Ocean Policy to Advance Economic, Security, and Environmental Interests of the United States, basically dismantled the RPB, but shortly thereafter, MARCO established the Mid-Atlantic Committee on the Ocean, also known as MACO, to continue to collaborate on shared priorities with federal agencies, tribal entities, and the Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council. And we'll hear from Mike Snyder a little bit later on. He's the current chair of the MACO Steering Committee about what MACO is up to and what the future direction of MACO is. MARCO also does a lot of work through topic-specific collaborative working groups. Each working group has work plans and progress reports that can be found on the MARCO website, and I'll be doing kind of a deep dive on each of those working groups a little later on in the presentation to tell you what kinds of things MARCO's doing and MARCO and MACO are doing related to ocean acidification, marine debris, offshore wind, ocean mapping and data, among other topics. And finally, as with NROC and MACOA, both of whom presented earlier this year, MARCO also hosts an ocean data portal. The portal has over 5,000 data layers that are used by a multitude of stakeholders. We're very pleased to have Karl Vilacoba, Mid-Atlantic Portal Project Manager, with us today, who will speak about exciting new portal features a little bit later on. So with that, to do a bit of a deeper dive into the Mid-Atlantic Committee on the Ocean, which we call MACO, I'm going to kick it back over to Mike to tell you a little bit about what MACO is up to.
Great, thank you, Avalon. So as Avalon mentioned, MACO is a partnership that was formed by the Mid-Atlantic Regional Council on the Ocean to solidify our federal and tribal nation coordination and collaboration. MACO really serves as a regional venue for ongoing information sharing, for coordination, and for discussion on topics central to the Mid-Atlantic ocean ecosystem and economy. MACO is led by a steering committee of state, tribal nation, federal, and fisheries management representatives, and you can see here the list of folks who are on the committee on this slide. On behalf of New York, it's my honor to serve as the current chair of MACO and the steering committee. And MACO's purpose is to generate a deeper understanding and awareness of state, federal, tribal, and regional fishery management entity programs and other activities that are affecting the ocean waters off of the Mid-Atlantic. So each of the various member agency representatives within MACO are charged with identifying and pursuing, where appropriate, opportunities for collaboration on regional ocean issues. And we can do this through a number of ways, activities such as establishing a network of contacts that are engaged in specific ocean planning activities to facilitate communication across the region, sharing information on upcoming networking opportunities, as well as other actions that agencies are planning to undertake that may require or benefit from additional coordination. as well as identifying ways to enhance federal data sharing and support for the Mid-Atlantic Ocean Data Portal to inform overall ocean planning and management. And as you can hear, there's a strong focus on collaboration. So because of this, MACO also includes a specific charge to its members to engage external stakeholders in learning about, identifying, and responding to regional ocean issues. The primary way we achieve this is through hosting an annual ocean forum. This past year, as you might expect, the Ocean Forum had to go virtual, but we still enjoyed tremendous outpouring of support and participation from stakeholders throughout the region, as well as some great information sharing and dialogue among the MACO membership. The forum has really become a preeminent opportunity for learning more and discussing opportunities for collaboration on ocean issues within the Mid-Atlantic. As chair, my vision is to continue this effort and to grow MACO into new areas of partnership and to continue to strengthen the avenues of collaboration that have already been established. Overall, we'd like MACO to continue to be the preeminent collaborative body in the region in support of the shared ocean priorities that are so central to MARCO's overall success. Thank you, Avalon, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Mike. So with that, I wanted to go a little bit deeper into some of our collaborative working groups that MARCO and MACO host, beginning with the Mid-Atlantic Coastal Acidification Network, otherwise known as Maycan. So Maycan is a nexus of scientists, tribal, federal, and state agency representatives, resource managers, and affected industry partners who seek to coordinate and guide regional observing, research, and modeling of ocean and coastal acidification. MARCO coordinates Maycan in partnership with MARICUS, which is the Mid-Atlantic IU's ocean observing system, and it's really a wonderful partnership that MARCO has with MARICUS, and Maycan does a lot to further the region's understanding about ocean acidification, coastal acidification, where events might happen, when they might happen, and kind of highlighting current research going on around each of those topics. So we do a lot of work to educate managers, elected officials, industry representatives, and the public about solutions to reduce these sources of acidification. We envision that Maycan can be a starting point to work together toward data-driven answers to tough acidification questions. So for example, Maycan has produced 2 peer-reviewed publications in 2019 that looked at ecological research needs and gaps, as well as monitoring needs and gaps that we are now seeking to fill. So we're seeking to fill those through 4 working groups. We have 4 sub-working groups under Maycan, 1 focused on science, 1 focused on policy, 1 focused on outreach, and the other on industry. And each of those sub-working groups have their own work plans, which are all included in the larger Maycan work plan, which is available on the MARCO website. You can also learn more about Maycan on its website, which is www.midacan.org. I will do a plug. We have a workshop coming up on October 26th called Supporting OA Action Planning and Implementation in the Mid-Atlantic. The goal of that workshop will be to look at what many of the states in the Mid-Atlantic region are doing related to planning for ocean acidification. We're partnering with the OA Alliance on this workshop, so it's really going to be a wonderful opportunity to learn about how each of the states are thinking about ocean acidification, what they're doing to better understand potential impacts of acidification to their ecosystems and economies, and really taking a look at what is going to be needed to move from planning to implementation. So we're going to take a look at regional data hubs such as the MARCO Ocean Data Portal and the Maricus Oceans Map, and how those can be leveraged to display useful products for decision makers about acidification related data. And then also look at a case study of where a regional monitoring network was implemented on the West Coast and how we might think about regional monitoring networks here in the Mid-Atlantic. So we'll have some nice breakout sessions, and it should be a really great opportunity to connect with others interested in the acidification space. I encourage everybody to join. And again, that is on October 26th, and you can find registration information on the MARCO website or the Maycan website. We also have a marine debris working group, which is a very very robust working group coordinated by the Commonwealth of Virginia, as well as the Environmental Protection Agency. There are over 30 members from across sectors in the marine debris working group, including federal agencies, state agencies, mission-focused for-profit companies, nonprofits, and so on and so forth. Right now, the working group is focused on a community-based social marketing campaign to reduce balloon release behavior. Balloon debris is one of the most deadly forms of debris for wildlife, and often people don't realize that when they release balloons, the balloons continue to float in the air and will ultimately come down into the marine environment, where they can impact wildlife such as this wild horse that you see here, sea turtles, marine mammals, so on and so forth. And so we've been working on this project with support from the NOAA Marine Debris Program since 2018, and have launched a campaign in partnership with several aquariums in the region to raise awareness for this issue and hopefully change people's behavior to think twice before they release a balloon. We also participate in contributing to a regional database of marine debris projects, which you can find on the NOAA website. And we hosted a summit in 2021. Previously, we had hosted a summit in 2019 in partnership with the Virginia Coastal Zone Management Program and Clean Virginia Waterways at Longwood University, hosting these kind of every other year regional summits to bring attention to some regional efforts going on around reducing and preventing marine debris in the region. This past year in summer 2021, that was a virtual workshop, and we had over 300 people join over the course of 3 days. So it was really well attended, and people came from all over the world to tune in to learn about what's going on in marine debris in the region. We also have an offshore wind regional collaboration that's chaired by the states of New York, New Jersey, as well as NOAA and BOEM. And that offshore wind regional collaboration, we call it OWRC, really is focused on interagency information exchange. It's a wonderful way for people to informally discuss with one another about what's going on within their own agencies around offshore wind. We also conduct stakeholder outreach. We plan webinars such as we partnered with NROC earlier this year to host a webinar around offshore wind transmission issues, for example. And we have several other webinars planned over the coming months and years. And then we also coordinate with other regional offshore wind groups to make sure, we're not duplicating any efforts, and that we have an understanding of what other regional efforts are pursuing. And finally, we also have MACO leads the Ocean Mapping and Data Team, also called OMDT. That's chaired by the Commonwealth of Virginia, but it's an interagency working group that works together to promote and develop data products for the Mid-Atlantic Ocean Data Portal. And this is a really nice entry point to learning more about the portal, so I'll pass it off to Karl in just a moment. But it is another really robust working group. It has over 40 interagency members that meet quarterly to talk about data needs, mapping products, new products that might be desired by the community, ocean planning community, and then also different enhancements that might need to be made to existing data products. So with that, I'll turn it over to Karl to talk a little bit more about the Mid-Atlantic Ocean Data Portal. Thanks, Karl.
Thanks, Avalon. Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Karl Vilacoba. I'm the Communications Director for the Monmouth University Urban Coast Institute, which is located in West Long Branch, New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore. And I am a member of the MACO portal technical team. So if you've listened to Avalon and Mike, you get the inkling that the ocean is a pretty busy place, and especially here in the Mid-Atlantic. And as this map shows, lots going on. We've got the busiest port on the East Coast up in New York and New Jersey. We've got basically the focal point for transatlantic communications cables that are all across the country. We've got a very vibrant commercial fishing industry. We've got offshore wind on the way, and recreational fishing and boating in high demand on our shore. And what the portal does is show how all of these things relate to each other, and in some cases conflict with one another, so that people in ocean management roles can make more informed decisions. Next slide. So what's on the portal? Currently about 5,000, maybe even 6,000, I haven't done a count in a while, map layers organized under about a dozen themes. And you can see them to the right. We have fishing, marine life, maritime, oceanography, renewable energy, and so forth. We have some instructional and educational resources. We have a portal blog where you can find out the latest information on the newest data releases and tool enhancements. An ocean story section, which is kind of our own digital magazine meets story map feature that helps educate people on the map data that we have on the portal. A calendar for ocean planning events, and we host semi-monthly webinars, which we call our How Tuesday series. And we have some tools for users to share maps and collaborate together in groups. Next slide. The portal team currently is Monmouth University, where I sit, Rutgers University, Duke, the Nature Conservancy, and EcoTrust, all working under the guidance of MACO. Next slide. One of the things that the portal did was take a lot of marine data scattered in a whole lot of different government agencies and bring it under one umbrella, and really the stuff that's of the most interest to people in the Mid-Atlantic. So we ingest a lot of information from the federal level portal, the Marine Cascadia. We have worked in partnership with our counterpart to the north, NROC, to create a lot of big data sets, including most of our marine life data and fishing data, realizing that we just have so much in common. For example, fishermen who come from the Cape Cod area are off the New Jersey and New York shores very much, and vice versa. So there's every incentive to work together and create some of these big products. There are some states in our region which have really great GIS marine sites. And in some cases, we take data from them, and in a lot of cases, we're delivering data to them. Next slide. A couple of examples of how the portal is being used. One of the major drivers for the portal and our data development has been offshore wind. Government agencies are using it to determine where offshore wind can go in places that, to the extent possible, can avoid conflicts with shipping, with the most valuable grounds for fishing, for other uses that are out there, for environmentally sensitive areas. And on the other side as well, some of those users, fishing industry, NGOs, just interested members of the public, can all use the portal and its data to study some of these proposals and submit their feedback to BOEM, to the relevant agencies, using the portal and creating maps and citing some of that data. And it's important to mention that they are having their availability to the same data that the government is using to make a lot of these decisions. So it's a good and even playing field for all. Next slide. A lot of people think that in this wireless world, the days of submarine cables are a thing of the past, but that's really not true. Some 97, 98% of all overseas communications I've read are still carried by submarine cables, and they are expanding still, especially with internet use. And an example of that would be down in Virginia Beach. There have been a few cables created for the first time over the last couple of years, including one where Microsoft and Facebook actually teamed up to create the highest capacity fiber optic line ever created, the Marine Cable. Huge project. And the portal was used by its engineers to design an alignment that would steer clear of some of the naval training areas, of the wind areas that are being developed, of areas where the data showed that there was a lot of bottom tending fishing gear which could get snagged on lines. And it's probably going to be used increasingly as there's power cables laid to connect to some of these offshore wind arrays. Next. The Coast Guard is currently working on a series of port access route studies, or PARs, focused on major ports along the East Coast, taking into consideration in light of infrastructure changes going on in these ports, in light of shipping trends and the oncoming offshore wind construction. How might maritime traffic patterns change? And through these studies, they're designing a series of shipping fairways and anchorages and other routing measures that can accommodate that traffic in the future. And the portal has been used to aid that analysis. And the Federal Register notices for these studies have been pointing to the portal and letting people know that they can go to the portal, take a look at the study areas, take a look at some of the proposals that are coming out of these draft reports, and submit their comments based on what they're seeing. So it's been a really good public outreach tool to aid in that. Next slide. And finally, I always like to hear about some of the uses of the portal that we didn't foresee. And one of the major ones has been education. It's really grown as a valuable classroom tool. That picture right there is of me giving what's become an annual thing where I do tutorials for New York City public school teachers, hosted by the WCS at either the Bronx Zoo or the New York Aquarium. And one of the major components of the portal that have been used in those sessions in which teachers seem to like is the groups tool, which allows you to save bookmarks of your maps, to save drawings that you've created on our mapping tool, Marine Planner, and share them into these groups. So you don't have to email back and forth all your links or create big, long Google Docs and all of that. So as far as classroom users, people can share their homework that way. They can share lab assignments that way, and teachers can see them, their classmates can see them. And that's been a pretty cool thing that we're very happy to have accommodated. Next slide. A peek at what is new and what's coming up on the portal. So speaking of that groups tool, you guys are the first to know. I was actually drafting the announcement for this right before this webinar and haven't put it out yet, but we've done some improvements to the groups function, which have been long in the making and requested by users for a long time. Specifically, the ability to set your group to private. We heard from people that they'd like to use it, but didn't want just anyone coming in and being able to join their group and see what they're working on, especially if it's sensitive material or something like that. So now you can actually control who's a member of your group, who can see it, all of that kind of stuff. So we're very happy to be working to get that out. Maps that we've recently rolled out since midsummer, 2020 AIS vessel traffic counts. So we now have a full decade worth of these maps, which show basically where vessel traffic is concentrated for all vessels carrying AIS transponders, or by various classes like cargo, fishing, tugs and tows, and a few others. And we do them with a full annual picture of it, or you can actually use our monthly slider, and you can see that in that map right there where it's moving. And you can automatically click to animate that and see how things change through the season, or just toggle through them. We recently updated our marine life fish data, which now covers a full decade worth of federal trawl data. We recently posted some data related to balloon litter that it was found on beaches through MARCO-initiated beach sweeps. And I spoke a little while ago about the port access route studies, recently added some recommendations that came out of them for the New Jersey shore area and for the northern New York bight. Next. And what's next? Avalon talked a little bit about our partnership with Maricus, which has been great, and we're excited about what can happen next. Maricus has its own sort of portal called the Oceans Map, which has real-time data. And we have been working with them to take some of that real-time data to create long-term products that are suitable for long-term regional ocean planning. So for example, you can use the Oceans Map to tell right now, as of this moment, what bottom temperatures are like off the coast of Virginia or Chesapeake Bay or any place like that. But what we're working to do is take all of that data from about 15 years, all of those daily readings, and create average monthly temperatures that you can cycle through and see what that looks like from month to month. That's one that's been requested for a long time, especially because people are very curious for something that illustrates the cold pool in the Mid-Atlantic. And that still image right there does actually show that a bit. So we're excited to get those out. They'll be coming probably over the next few weeks. We are working to improve our tribal data and have a partner called Native Land Digital, which has released some great stuff on historic territories and native languages through our region. And we're also adding some administrative data related to tribal contacts, reservation boundaries, and some other contact information. And finally, on marine mammals, we are working with whale watch operators throughout the Mid-Atlantic, which really was not a very big industry a few years ago, but we have a lot of humpback whales off our coast now, and they're coming back, and we're all excited about that. So we want to create some maps that show basically the hot spots for them. And also, we have about 2 decades worth of marine mammal strandings data provided by the stranding centers throughout our region and up through New England through NOAA. And we're in the later stages of trying to create some maps out of that. So I'll just end by saying you can always check the portal blog, and the URL is down there, or follow us on Twitter for the latest updates on what's new on the portal. And with that, I'll throw it back to Avalon and Mike.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karl. And yeah, Karl really does a ton of work in terms of outreach, and there's always new blogs that are coming up on the portal page. It's really easy to find. He makes it very easy to find new information about what's going on with the portal, and it's very easy to read and good for all audiences of many different levels of expertise. So thank you so much, Karl, for that wonderful overview. So right now, I just wanted to kind of look forward. What's next for MARCO? What can you kind of expect to see coming out of our efforts here? So first and foremost, we're going to continue thoughtful planning for offshore wind development in the Mid-Atlantic. And one of the primary ways that we're doing that is in July 2021, MARCO, in partnership with NROC and Coastal State Stewardship Foundation, announced that we were selected to host the Regional Wildlife Science Entity, or RWSE, which you may have heard of, but if not, the RWSE will be another, it's a regional entity that will support research and monitoring on wildlife and offshore wind by identifying priorities for scientific research and monitoring at the project, regional, and ecosystem-wide scales. It will coordinate and align funding to meet those priorities and ensure appropriate data and standards are in place to support science priorities. So the region for RWSE spans South Carolina all the way up to Maine. So it does include all of MARCO's 5 states, but also the states that are encompassed by NROC and also beyond. So there's more information on the Northeast Ocean Planning website for right now. That's where it's such a new organization that we're still working on standing up its own website. So for now, if you're interested, you can go to neoceanplanning.org/RWSE, and you can find a copy of a governance structure that talks about how information will flow from subcommittee level experts in the field of different wildlife and taxa, and then all the way up through the steering committee level, which is comprised of 4 sectors: states, federal agencies, environmental NGOs, and the offshore wind industry. We also, late last year, MACO and MARCO developed a statement on diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. And we developed some actions that serve as initial steps and that will evolve over time. So I just wanted to kind of go through some of those because I think that we're going to be moving forward on some of these action items over the coming months and years. So one is to expand the stakeholders with whom we engage, including collaborators and members of its work groups, to reflect the full diversity of the Mid-Atlantic region. So you'll see, if you look on our website at all of the work plans that the work groups have created, that there are, we've asked all the work group leads to consider DEIJ in all of their work planning, so that, you know, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice is sort of reflected throughout all of the work that MARCO and MACO oversee. And that we provide opportunities to be inclusive, ensure access to information, and foster transparent decision-making. Much of this, for example, Mike talked a little bit about the annual Ocean Forum that MACO hosts, and so efforts are truly being made in the planning for those forums to make it as accessible as possible. So, for example, if it's in person, having it in a place that's accessible by public transportation, just as one example. Investing in gaining a better understanding of principles of ocean justice and relevant governmental actions that have contributed to injustice, committing to more thorough and inclusive data collection and mapping, identifying resources and data that inform member entities on past and current ocean injustices. Karl kind of talked a little bit about that. We have some items in the work for the portal that might speak to some of those items. And then expanding information sharing efforts by encouraging forum participation, identifying resources that empower communities and entities to advance ocean justice, incorporating all of these principles into the MACO framework documents, which you can also find on the website, and then advancing this work in each of our individual entities. So that's just a reference to the fact that MACO is a collaboration, and MARCO is as well, across many different entities. That's really what makes MACO and MARCO beautiful, is that we facilitate people talking who may not normally speak to one another because of geographical variances or being housed in different agencies. So really breaking down those silos and kind of working across agencies and bringing back principles of DEIJ into our own individual entities. And then finally, MARCO is looking forward and kind of a new focus on sustaining the Mid-Atlantic's vibrant blue economy. And so we have partnered to kind of kick this off. We've partnered with the Middlebury Institute and Charles Colgan to do a Mid-Atlantic ocean economy assessment and kind of redefining the ocean economy for the Mid-Atlantic region, kind of taking the national definition of ocean economy and applying it at the regional level. It's really the first of its kind. That report is underway. It's in draft form right now, and we do anticipate that it will be released within the next couple of months. So there should be some really great information in there, and we're hoping to do some outreach around that. So if you join our listserv, which you can find on our website, midatlanticocean.org, you'll be able to get updates on where things stand with that. I just wanted to thank you again for joining today and for listening to us. I've put my contact information if you have general questions about MARCO, and I've put Karl's contact information if you've got portal specific questions. Feel free to reach out to either one of us, and I can direct you to direct your question to the correct management board member or MACO steering committee member if relevant. So just again wanted to truly thank Claire and Peg for organizing these webinars. It's really been wonderful to hear from the other regional ocean partnerships, so NROC and WACOA over the past couple of months, and then we're definitely looking forward to hearing from the Gulf as well in December. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Claire.
Yep, so we do have some time for questions. If anyone has questions, please type them into the question panel, and I will give everyone a few seconds to get your questions in.
And Claire, while we're doing that, this is Peg Brady again, and I just want to put a couple of notes out there. First of all, thank you, Michael and Karl and Avalon. That was a fabulous presentation. I appreciate that. And just a couple of dates to keep in mind. On November 10th is our next seminar, and we're going to be focusing in on a new product NOAA has been developing. It is the National Marine Ecosystem Status Website 2.0. What is it and how you can get involved? So definitely put that on the list. That's Will Claber, who will be providing that presentation. He's one of our Canals Fellows presently working on that topic. And then as Avalon mentioned, December 8th, we have Laura Bowie from the Gulf of Mexico Alliance. So we'll get an update from that regional partnership as well. So hopefully there's some questions that have come in for our speakers today. And I'll go back to Claire.
All right, I do have a question here. And my apologies if I mispronounce anything, but the question is, how does the MACO portal relate to Marine Cascadia? Marine Cascadia?
Marine Cascadia, I could take that one. So the Marine Cascadia, if you haven't used it, is basically a federal level portal. We actually ingest some of our most oft-used layers from the Marine Cascadia, including the BOEM offshore energy lease areas. That one, from month to month, if you check, is usually our most actively used layer, and it's just one example of some of the stuff that we take from them. You know, they have a lot of national level data. So for example, administrative boundaries, which go all the way up and down the coast and the West Coast and all through America. And, you know, those are things that are not necessary for our portal team to try to recreate. So it's very useful for us to just ingest that data directly and use it. And so they're a very important contributor to what we do.
All right, how does the portal obtain and make available commercial data that may have associated confidentiality issues?
Yeah, so we view ourselves as a public information effort pretty much first and foremost. And to the extent that we can, we will always make our data downloadable. The vast majority of it is actually downloadable, so that if you have your own GIS capabilities, your own software in the workplace, you can download that data, take it onto your platform and use it from there. But there are some exceptions, and one of the main ones is the fishing data. We work with our federal partners to create that, and basically it's stripped of any indicators that can show what a specific vessel is doing, where it went. Our communities at sea data, which is one section that deals with commercial fishing, has a feature where you can click on a map and see what ports people came from, but it doesn't show, for example, you know, which vessels went there. And so we will work with our partners to address any of those confidentiality and privacy issues to the best extent we can, while also trying to make available everything that we have to all users to the extent we can. Hope that answers.
Okay, could you expand on the role of the Offshore Wind Regional Collaboration? Is it limited to environmental research, or does it also look at the regulation or siting of offshore wind projects?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the Offshore Wind Regional Collaboration, OWRC, is currently limited to members of MACO. So it's all governmental agencies or tribal partners or the Mid-Atlantic Fisheries Management Council. So we look at a range of things. Sometimes we have project-specific conversations. A lot of times we're looking at kind of doing an interagency information exchange on of what's going on within each agency related to offshore wind, and what kinds of questions people might be getting from stakeholders that we could address regionally. So that's where, things like the transmission webinar, for example, kind of people wanted to know what's going on, what in terms of planning for transmission, what are some of the transmission issues we should be thinking about. So kind of doing more of a public informational type engagement there. So I think that's kind of where we're focused at this point, less so on regulations. I can kick it over to Mike if he wants to expand on that a little bit more, but because he is one of the, Mike does a lot, you'll find. He's one of the co-leads of the OWRC. So Mike, did you want to add anything to my response, or did I cover it?
I think you did a great job covering it, Avalon. I think that group is certainly one where we see a lot of opportunity for continued conversation and growth in terms of our activities. And one of the things, as Avalon noted, that we learned right away is just how busy we all are in this space and just how much is going on. And so with that in mind, we're really doing our best to try to identify where MACO and MARCO can be most useful, and where we can really add the most value in terms of advancing conversations. And I think certainly as the work of the RWSE evolves, I think you'll see additional opportunities for our partnerships to really grow and evolve with it. I do think that the offshore wind conversation also, as we've seen, increasingly, has a nexus to a lot of other important issues and conversations we have in the Mid-Atlantic, whether it's marine transportation or commercial fishing or offshore habitats. And so a lot of these issues are, topical but related. And so, again, what we try to do is try to find those connections between, the different players in the space and the government agencies, and where those interests connect and intersect, and where there's opportunities for additional conversation that will really help advance the discussion.
Thank you. Is the plan for diversity and inclusion efforts to be reflected in the portal itself, layers representative of broader communities, or are those initiatives primarily focused on meeting access, information exchange, etc.?
Another great question. So we definitely have been connecting with the portal on certain ideas that people have. We are seeking, additional support and of interested MACO members on helping to kind of determine what types of data. It's definitely an action item within our DEIJ statement, is to kind of look at what kinds of data is on the portal, what kind of data might need to be added to the portal, not just for meeting access and things like that, but also, for example, if there's additional information about historic indigenous cultures that we might, that's one that's been a topic of conversation very recently, or just kind of taking stock of some additional layers that may need to be added down the line. So I don't know, Karl, if you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, a couple things. First, I'll say that around the time that the DEIJ statement was first drafted, one of the first things that we did was consult MACO about data that we could put there that would help make the difference. And the EPA's environmental justice viewer was one of the sites that we consulted, and we added some data related to impaired waterways right away. I mentioned the tribal data that we've been working on to improve that. And also, I'd like to mention that the ocean stories section on the portal, we've really made an emphasis and will in the future to include a diverse range of voices in the stories that are told through that. So for example, one that we did not long ago, I think it might even be our most recent one, was a profile of a few women who were basically central in the formation of Black and Marine science. 3 women who are Mid-Atlantic residents, and spoke about their work, did some story maps to help illustrate that, and helped hopefully raise a bit of awareness about the great work that they're doing. So lots more to come, but we're excited about it.
All right, and it looks like that is the questions we have so far. I will give everyone another minute or so to type questions in the questions panel if you have any. All right, and I'm not seeing anything come through, so that's going to be it for today. I just want to thank all of our speakers for being here today. Thank you all for joining us. You will be able to find this presentation on YouTube later this afternoon. When the presentation ends, you will see a survey. If you could take the time to fill this out, we do use these surveys to improve marketing our library seminar service and to inform future seminar topics. Thank you all again for joining us and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Michael, Karl, and Avalon. Appreciate all your efforts. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Look forward to seeing everyone in November.
Likewise.
Thank you.